Welcome back, everybody, to We Are TPM. Again, with myself, Kyle Teixeira, sitting next to John Teixeira. We are back this week to discuss vacancy rates and marketing in the Concerns When Looking for a Property Manager series we're doing, right? So, vacancy rates and marketing.
This is one of the pain points. This is one of the things that I hear the most, or is the thing that is most dismissed by people that are managing their property, right?
Yeah, and before we get into that,
all right.
If you have any questions or concerns such as this, want to talk about vacancy rates and marketing, give us a call, 817-818-9039, or shoot us an email at showmethemoney@wearetpm.com. Shoot us some things you may want to hear about, and you may hear about them.
What do people want to hear about, Kyle?
Everything we talk about.
I bet they don't want to hear about vacancy rates, because it seems like when I open my mouth about it, it's the first time they've even thought about vacancy rates.
Yeah, that can be true, especially for non-managed properties.
So what is it I tell everyone about vacancy rates?
Well, we talk about it a lot, but we're going to, again, bring some data today. But
okay, all right.
What is it you tell? They cost you the most money. They cost you more than everything else.
There is nothing more that costs you exactly.
It costs you more than that extra $25 a month in rent. It costs you more than
all the stupid stuff that you're worried about. While that house
throwing darts.
While that house is sitting there waiting for you to make a decision for a week and a half.
This contractor is $50 cheaper. It's going to take 3 months instead of 3 days, but he's $50 cheaper, John.
Yeah, I know.
It makes sense.
And you spent $3,000 sitting on that house while you were waiting for that contractor to do their work, crappy work.
Okay, I'm feeling like we're touching on an opinionated subject here. So.
Yep.
Let the controversy ensue.
There's a lot of experience over here regarding this.
Let's start with vacancy
Let's start
rates.
over.
So I'm just going to give some stats because we could talk about our opinions all day. But this is a survey according to the National Multifamily Housing, blah, 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 NMHC. We're going to refer to them as that. That professionally managed property managers have an average vacancy rate of 4 to 5%. What do you think it is for self-managed properties?
So, okay, explain to me. The average vacancy rate for managed properties is 4 to 5%.
Yes.
Explain that to me. Does that mean 4 to 5% of their portfolio is vacant?
No, it means 4 to 5% of the time periods are vacant.
I don't understand that.
You don't understand that?
I don't. If I'm being real honest, I don't understand.
These things are measured on a portfolio basis, so it's like if you have 100 properties at any given time, 4 to 5%
okay,
of them
so all right,
are sitting vacant.
So if a self-managed person has the same 100 properties, what is their vacancy rate at any one time?
Even if it was one property, it's the amount of time that it's vacant.
I'm not surprised. 5% is right where I would have guessed managed properties is. I'm gonna go with 10.
You're gonna go with 10. Well, they're not. It's an average. So they're not that bad, but I'm just kidding. 7 to 8%, but that's a 3% difference. It's 3% difference for managed properties versus self-managed, and it makes a difference. Why, John?
Because there's nothing more that costs a homeowner money than vacancy days.
I probably can't count the amount of times I've heard you make that sentence or that statement. But in addition to that, we got a case study by RealPage. RealPage is another property management site, I would call it. They also found that managed properties have 3% lower vacancy rate on average compared to self-managed properties. So these are stats and a case study, right? So what does that tell us, Sean? No, not going to make you do it. And then on top of that is faster lease-up times, which plays into the vacancy rate, right? Even if it's a lot of that's turnover, the things you have to do after taking a property back, turning them over, the contracting, repairs. We talk about that a lot, but it's also how fast can you get it rented once it's.
Yeah, can I talk a little bit about that? Because I'm gonna reiterate some. No,
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Right,
go ahead. Reiterate some.
I'm gonna reiterate some things that we've said in our past podcasts, and so some of the stuff we're gonna talk about. I realize we talk about it a lot, but it's about systems and processes. Right. And most people, even a lot of property managers, don't have the systems and processes in place, or they don't know what they are and they're winging it. Right. And so when you have systems and processes, this is one of the biggest beneficiaries to it. What we're talking about, keeping your vacancy rates down and being able to market a home to keep the property vacancy rates down. So we joked about, the repairs and the contractors, but it's like you said, it's not just contractors. It's also, what is your system for marketing the home? For instance, first thing we do when we get notice from a tenant is we go to that home, do a marketing inspection, right? Beforehand to determine its viability for marketing and get it ready for marketing. And, the part of our lease is set up to allow us to do marketing in that last 30 days. And all these things are pre-thought about and part of our systems. And so they're taken care of so that in that last 30 days, we're marketing the property. And hopefully, ideally, we got a new tenant when that property moves out.
And not to steer this, but that helps in the tenant move out process too, because if we do a pre-marketing inspection, we're like, all right, it's going to need these things because these people moved into a marketable property. Right. It's not marketable, right? It's just sometimes it's things they're going to be charged for. Well, while they're in there, we're going to get it quoted. You're going to see what we're quoting. There's less ambiguity in that. And you didn't even know what the next stats are, but you segued into them quite well. That efficiency is the main one by use of technology that professional property managers use, which we talked a lot about last week. But automated leasing and tenant screening systems can reduce lease-up times by 20 to 30%, which that vacancy data also shows. This is a report by Appfolio, which is the biggest management system there is. So, and digital leasing, which property managers or anyone that uses digital leasing tools, online applications, virtual tours, vacancy gets further reduced by up to 5%.
Yeah.
Just fun data, right? We love data.
And protects you from bad tenants, which is off topic, but all of those things also protect you from bad tenants, by the way.
Lower quality tenants.
Let's
compare this to self-managing landlords, right?
Yep.
We already did that. So, they get a vacancy rate in the range
3% higher.
Yeah, 3%.
I got that.
All right. So
once you tell me this data,
the main thing here, the overall thing here is the marketing, right? The marketing ties heavily to the vacancy rates, but it also ties to your efficiency, what you get for rent, all these things.
Yeah, and we've done a past podcast on marketing. So I'm curious, Kyle, since that one we did probably a little over 2 years ago, right? What's changed in 2024 with our marketing? I mean, we do a lot of the same things, but we do some things differently.
I think the main thing that's changed is the consumer expectation. People have gotten used to, especially since 2020. The pandemic forced a lot of managers and self-managers to adopt a lot of these online tools, but that still took time, and I think now people have gotten used to it. They've gotten used to the property managers that have an online presence that they can verify is a company. They can go to make sure they have a office, or they can call them and make sure it's legit, because scamming and fraud has been rampant over the last 2 years on both ends.
Prevalent, yeah.
Applicants using fraud, or AI's gotten really good at forging applications.
Fake Zillow and Facebook listings.
One thing we use for identity verification is generating a photo, a selfie, with a picture of your ID, your physical ID. Well, I've seen we haven't actually received this ourselves, but I've seen it on our forums of property managers that have received AI pictures of them taking a selfie with the ID, and they're like, man, I almost bought this. It was almost good enough to where they did it right. So that's just a little segue into nothing there, but it's an interesting point.
Pretty soon somebody's gonna be able to go into ChatGPT and say, "Give me everything I need to give to a landlord."
Yeah.
For an application, right? And then
you probably can do that.
And we're gonna have to get better at catching this stuff.
So online presence, 85% of property managers, to answer your question with some of this data, 85% of professional managers use these online marketing tools, where it compared to 50% for self-managing landlords. Like, I know last time we did this episode, that was way further away. It was like 70-20. So even self-managing know that this is you have to do this almost now.
Right.
No one's going to give you a written application or walk it in. I mean, the online application is like a baseline at this point, I say that, but
ironically, the only time I get somebody wanting to bring me a written application is real estate agents.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they call me all the time. Can you take a truck application? I assume you take truck applications. No, we have an online application.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, it's probably because they're trying to send it to multiple property managers, but yeah.
Because they know just about as much what they're doing as everyone else. That's the reason why.
Also...
I'm pretty pessimistic today,
yeah,
aren't I?
you are. Well, it's because you're talking about something you talk about all the time, I guess. But just baseline SEO advantage, property managers get higher ranked with their listings on Google and all these search results just because they have so many. It's a volume thing.
Yeah.
But also advertising. So targeted advertising results in 10 to 15% increase in rental inquiries compared to those using traditional marketing methods. And a lot of times, if it's not a professional manager, in our experience, it's they can't really do targeted advertising because you don't have that credibility. They want to verify that listing you're posting on Facebook is legit, or that or on Zillow or whatever it is legit.
So I want to say something. I just want to make a really general statement. That is, we use professional photography. We have upgraded listings on all the websites, right? And we no longer put our site anything on Facebook because it is a scam waiting to happen. Zillow is also, we do it, but it's still a place where you have to be very careful. We actually pay a service to scrub the Zillow listings and make sure they're not getting copied.
Well, and Facebook, because they literally, even when we post on Facebook, say at 1,500, someone will repost it at 1,350.
No, they repost it at $1,000 and make it almost too good to be true. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're a tenant out there and you see something that's way under priced, don't do it. It's probably a scam. I can't tell you how many people have called me and said, "Hey, I'm about to send $1,000 to this person," and then I see that it's your listing, and I'm like, "Yeah, don't send it."
Well, and they tend to try to take advantage of the people who don't want to use these advanced tools, because I've seen them most times repost our listing with our info, our website, where the application is, our contact information and all that, which is a bold move, but it works because they're like, well, they ain't going to call these. They're going to check maybe online and make sure this is legit, or that this company is legit, and then they're going to send me a Facebook message. And then once they send that Facebook message, they scam them out of their money. So,
yeah.
But
yeah, you got to be careful out there. Marketing is simple. It's nowadays, right? Because it's all about first impression. It's about getting it out there and getting your net out there in the proper places. And the sign in the yard doesn't matter. I mean, anybody who's going by, that's not true. People do call off of signs in the yard still, but that's not where people are finding your home. Like, if they've gone by your house, it's because they've already seen it online.
It's definitely not where the
As a matter of fact, you got to be careful about which homes you put a sign in the yard on. We have some that we don't even put signs in the yard on because we don't want the world around them to know that might be a vacant home.
It screams this is a vacant home.
Right.
That's what it does. And that, in the comparison to self-managing landlords, the studies show that they still mainly use traditional marketing methods such as yard signs, local ads, which is very limited versus the digital marketing that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And your ideal tenants are generally using the ideal marketing
That's right.
avenues. So
that's right.
It does make a difference. And yeah, the sign in the yard can almost sometimes have as many problems as not.
It's like the person that doesn't want to do the 1 cent authorization charge on the self-tour thing because they're afraid. Like, it's the same person that's going to show up at a sign and try to give you money cash to make a quick decision, right? It's like, what are you afraid of, and what's your problem here? And so you're kind of, through having these systems that are extremely vetted and weeded out by us and a bunch of other people, right? Through having these systems, you weed out some of your future problems.
Yeah, because got calls and people try to, not pay that 1 cent, say they don't have a credit card that they can do it with.
There's a reason.
We require that you use a credit card or debit card to submit an application. So if you can't do that for an application, then you don't need to see the home because you can't apply for it.
Yeah, and that's meant to weed out fraud. It's meant to catch fraud. So when somebody's calling me and saying I can't do this, it won't let me. Well, there's a reason why it won't let me and let you. And I'm not giving you a code. If I want to meet you out there, I'll meet you out there, but I'm not giving you a code. So,
well, it's like the cash thing. It's the same thing with cash. I had a tenant we were talking to the other day in the office, and they're trying to hand me $5,000 in cash, and I'm like, I've told you like 4 times I don't take cash in the office, right? And they're just complaining and telling me why, and I'm like, you ever been held at gunpoint? And they're like, no. Have you? And I'm like, no, and I plan to keep it that way. But if I keep taking $5,000 to every tenant that wants to in cash at my office, that's inviting problems, and we don't invite those. And we do take cash. We just don't take it at our office. We have a cash slip where you can go pay it, but it's just another one of those things that you use to weed out problems.
Yep.
So, and we've talked about the financial impact of vacancy rates and marketing, and they kind of tie together, right? At the end of the day, it just results in higher rental income. You get higher rental income due to the lower vacancy rates and marketing. Let's see, we got according to the Urban Land Institute, you achieve 5 to 10% higher rental income due to the effectiveness of marketing and lower vacancy rates of professional managers. And in turn, this leads to higher occupancy and rent growth.
Yep.
Retention leads to higher rent growth. So
that's what this whole series is about. A good property manager should be making you more money. They should be paying for themselves and making you more money. And this is one more small way that we've talked about that they do that.
Well, and I'm going to re-point out this fact that I'm not going to say it again, the NMHC found that it leads to 5 to 10% higher rental income compared to self-managed. Well, if a property manager costs you 5 to 10% of your rental income, then
all you're doing is trading that increased income for not having to do anything with that property anymore, not having to deal with it, and having somebody who knows what they're doing deal with it for you.
Yeah, and in the long term, I'd argue that
that 5 to 10% grows.
Yeah, that it compounds.
It grows.
Yeah,
enormously. Yep.
So, all right. Well, we talked about vacancy rates and marketing, but the number one thing to remember from this podcast is what's vacancy rates, John?
Nothing costs a homeowner more money than vacancy days. It's drilled in my brain. I've said it. I say it multiple times a day, multiple times a week, and I probably say it while I'm sleeping at night. You ask my wife. I bet you I wake up in the middle of the night and say it. I'm
gonna ask her when I see her. What are vacancy rates?
She doesn't pay attention to anything I say, whether I'm sleeping or not sleeping. So,
all right. Well, I'm gonna save you since this is recorded, and tell everybody if you want to give us a call, talk about vacancy rates and marketing, or have effective vacancy rates and marketing. Give us a call 817-818-9039, or shoot us an email at showmethemoney@wearetpm.com. And John and Kyle are out.
We gone.